We're talking today behavior on your gig.
So we'll talk about how important behavior is. And I think we both have examples to give of how we've seen the negative effects of
Yes.
if you show up to a gig and have bad attitude in
Hmm.
various degrees. But obviously it goes without saying that having a good attitude is it should be a no-brainer. But I know I've seen it
Yeah.
firsthand. I was playing in a regional on third flute pick. There was a sub on second flute, and there was the regular principal. And this sub was very young, like right out of grad. In fact,
Hmm.
I think she was right out of grad school, if I remember the conversation we had. And she was a really good player. I could tell she was a great player, but she had the worst attitude. She looked so bored. I mean, the program was one of those pops concerts, like,
Hmm.
but you can't, of course, you cannot, as a sub, especially. Well, you shouldn't, regardless, but
Right.
coming in as a sub. So I don't know what she was expecting. It seemed like it was one of her first gigs ever. She just seemed like this was beneath her and she was
Hmm.
visibly
Hmm.
bored. I would just say that. Whatever, but I could tell she was
Right.
a great player, but I thought, well, not going to see her again. Just to myself, I thought that. And then sure enough, after the rehearsal, the principal asked me about this sub, like, did you notice that she's,
Hmm.
not talking? Or I can't remember the details of how she looked bored or whatever, but I
Right.
said, yeah. And so I never saw her again. She was taken off the sub list and she was tried out as a brand new sub, put on the list of the principal to try
Hmm.
her out.
Hmm.
The moral of the story, I think that we'll all keep coming back to is that it doesn't
Hmm.
matter how good you are. Like if you show up and
Hmm.
you act like this gig is beneath you or that you're bored to be there, and then also like you're not prepared or all those other branches of bad
Hmm.
attitude,
Right.
that'll just get you taken off a sub list so
Hmm.
fast. And I know you've played a lot of those big arena gigs, right? Where there's a lot of
Hmm.
string players that are
Yeah.
called and then some of them you never see again.
Right. So you brought up two really important points. I just want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned she might not have known what she was getting herself into. I think it would be wise to know a little bit more about what you're getting yourself into because, like you said, you can't show this kind of attitude on a job, but knowledge is power. So if you know that you're going to be playing a pops gig, just have that in your mind that no, I'm not going to be playing Beethoven 6 tonight. I'm going to be playing, whatever, so that when you show up, you're not disappointed or something.
About what I said, this person didn't know what she was getting herself into. I got the feeling that she didn't know what she was getting herself into, in that she was right out of college and didn't even know what a gig was. I had the
Mm.
feeling she thought that she was going to be playing, envisioned her life as playing principal flute on Daphnis and Chloe, or like, and
Mhm. Right,
that's not a gig. Like a working gig is, I mean, sometimes, sure, but hardly
right.
ever do we actually get to play Mahler 2 on, with the best conductor and everything's aligning. Yeah, I just
Sure.
had the feeling that she had no idea that this is what gigging is. Or maybe she did and thought, this is dumb. I need to get better gigs, without realizing this is the better gig.
Right.
Cannot make connections here. You cannot make connections anywhere.
First of all, I get frustrated because students coming out of music school are not taught this lesson. I don't know. Some schools may have more preparation for what actually freelancing looks like, but I don't think so. Attitude on the job. You said she was looking bored. She was visibly bored. She was too good for that gig. All eyes are on you, and all people, everybody around you on a gig is forming opinions of you. Other musicians are going to have eyes on you, and they're judging you,
Yeah.
judging your behavior, judging your playing, and these are the folks who will or will not vote for you to come back. People will, the personnel manager, like you said, will ask, what do you think of this person's playing? Well, great playing, but a total jerk.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't want to work with them. Boom, they're done.
And in fact, I never saw that person again anywhere.
And
Oh,
even a couple, oopses in rehearsal can be forgiven if you're a good team player, if you know how to work with the other people, if you have a good attitude. At the end of the day, it's just work. It's not necessarily going to be what you want all the time, but
right.
it's important to take a good attitude in if you want to keep working as a freelance musician. These are lessons that are so vital to getting hired back.
Yes. Have you seen any bad
Yes.
behavior and then never saw that person again kind of story?
Yes. Oh my gosh, so many times. You're part of a section, you need to be a team player, And even if you don't like the program or you don't like the conductor, or you don't like your principal, you're not the conductor, especially if you're sitting in the middle or in the back or of a cello section. You are not the conductor, and they are the boss whether you like their ideas or not. Nobody cares about your opinion, and your questions are not to be asked during rehearsal. I think we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself. Just do your job, even if you're the best player in the whole orchestra. If you're acting bored, or if you're acting above everybody around you, I think the most important thing is that you are under scrutiny, especially if you're the new person. It's important to be aware that and there's no reason to not be friendly, and there's no reason to not try to be on a team player.
Yeah. And we're not saying like you have to be Pollyanna do-gooder, whatever.
Mm-mm.
Like you mentioned, know your etiquette. If you're in the section, don't ask questions to the conductor. Like,
Oh
no,
my
oh my God, don't ask questions.
God.
Don't tell your principal or anyone around you that this
Yeah.
is dumb, or just make snide remarks under your breath about the conductor.
Mhm. Or even
Don't,
about the principal, like the
or about the
principal's
principal.
choices of bowings, and like
Right. Oh,
I
yeah.
come on, man.
There is no such thing as like the best player and then the on down the road to the least best player. It's not like college where there's first chair and like
Right,
competitions. It doesn't
right.
operate like that. And I think
Mm-mm.
a lot of graduates out of college, music school, kind of have that mindset of the best player is going to get the gigs or has the say or
Mm.
whatever. But when you're on a gig, you're at work and you've just got hired. It doesn't ever, it's assumed you're good. You're good enough. Everyone's to
You
play.
don't have to prove it. You just,
No.
because being there, you've proven it. I think I just would want to segue to the other types of gigs out there, and the other types of I mean, the expectations on other
Yeah.
kinds of gigs, which
Okay.
isn't really all that different with
Yeah.
non-classical work. The next thing that I wanted to bring up is the kinds of shows like the big arena shows with big name artists in the front and the orchestra in the back, or
Yeah.
excuse
Like
me, my
Justin Bieber or somebody. I can't think
yeah,
of an
there's
example.
plenty of Michael Bublé, all that
Right.
stuff.
Yes.
When we talk about knowing what kind of gig you're on, some shows are not necessarily, and gigs, weddings, they're not necessarily about how great of a player you are. It's a lot of it is for show. And this is when we're talking about entertainment side of being a musician. It doesn't mean you can't it doesn't mean you shouldn't be amazing on your instrument,
Mhm.
and do the best you can with your part. But there's more components to the entertainment industry as a musician than are taught at music school. Sometimes people get hired for entertainment style jobs without realizing that it's your attitude is almost everything,
Yeah.
and you have to know what you're supposed to wear. You have to be a certain type of Disney-ish personality when you walk into the hall,
Mhm.
and that's not for everyone. These are
Right.
not for everyone. But if you want these jobs, this is what you have to do. And I think sometimes people come to these jobs for the money, and then their attitude starts to peak out because they're not playing Beethoven 6 tonight.
Yeah.
They're playing some pop song. They never get hired back. So, it's important to read the room about the job you're about to play. It
Mhm.
might not necessarily be about your great, virtuosic playing. It's like any job in the world. Like, you go to the workplace, these are the workplace rules. If you don't want that kind of job, then, you know, don't take that kind of job. Just don't do it.
Right.
If you really need the money and you're not in love with that kind of job, you got to maybe find a way to be okay with that kind of job.
And one skill that just reminds me of being a freelancer is being able to read the room. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's what I'm getting at too. Like,
yeah, read the room,
yeah.
know when to keep your mouth shut, know when to
Hmm.
like fit in, or yeah, just be aware, have awareness.
And it's flexibility too. Like,
Yeah.
just because there's the entertainment, there's the classical, and there's everything in between. In order to earn money as a freelance musician, it's wise to have that kind of flexibility. I think overall, it's all about your attitude and your kind of street smarts and
Mhm.
knowing what's expected of you per gig. They're all different.
I played for that. Who's that blind vocal guy, tenor
Oh
guy?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not Barbaroli. I forget his name.
No,
Andre
Andre.
Biscotti. What the heck's his name? You know who I'm
Oh my
talking
God.
about, yeah?
Yeah.
So I played that, and I know all for stuff like that, as you know, all the strings are mic'd. They get them mic'd up. So, or not all the strings, but sometimes in those big shows, the strings are
Coming
mic'd
into
up.
a track too. You're not necessarily even being really heard as
Yeah,
much,
right.
you
It's
know?
all going into a sound system and then
Yeah.
being operated that way. But
Bocelli. Bocelli.
Bocelli, yes, there we go. Like the Scotty. Um, but I know I've seen, maybe not on that particular gig, but other gigs where some violin players were like, no one can touch my violin, I'm like, well, then this is not the gig for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there are some, I mean, with the fireworks and things like that, there's just a lot of hoo-ha going on stage, and those instruments cannot be, you can't bring your good instruments. But you're on the second you get into the hall. You are on. Everybody's looking at you. Everybody wants to see what you're bringing to the table. And it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to show up and be like on and to produce what is expected of you. It's great. But you've got to know that you're being scrutinized. That is a factor that will bring you to that job again or not.
And some of it's indirect. Like, I don't know that, I mean, some people probably are like really watching you, but I think most of the people in the orchestra are just, they know you're a new sub and don't really worry about you or think about you at all until you do something stupid. Then they'll remember
Mm-hmm.
that. And by something
Mm-hmm.
stupid, I don't mean missing a note or something with your playing. It's
Yeah.
acting bored or saying something under your breath
Mm-hmm.
about another
Oh
player
my God.
or the
Yeah.
conductor or cannot do that. Then all of a sudden you're noticed and then they'll remember you and then the principal it'll get back to the principal. The principal will then tell the personnel manager and then you're off of the
Mm-hmm.
list. And if you're off of
Right.
one list, you're off. Then all of a sudden you've got, you're on this no
Mm-hmm.
flies list, like
Right.
it
Right.
doesn't take it doesn't take much.
No. No, I mean, I feel like maybe we're pushing really hard. I don't want to be intimidating. I think it's pretty simple to do things right,
Right.
the right way, and I think just like checking your ego at the door is probably a good thing to try to learn how to do.
Right. You're just there to play the gig. It's not
Right. Practice your part, play the
right.
gig, go home.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not complicated.
It's not, yeah. So I don't know. I hope this has been helpful, but also not intimidating. But
Right.
these are things that I've experienced. I've seen very talented people not get hired back because of certain missteps. A lot of this stuff we just learned from experience. So if you know someone who wants to hear a little bit about our experience as musicians, share. If you enjoy the show, like, subscribe, because we'll be doing more of these. And if you have any topics you want us to pull apart, we'd love to hear from you in the comments.
So yeah, we're going to continue to have our freelancer chat and talk about
Yes.
our past experiences and things you need to know to be on the gig that especially is not taught in school. It's kind
Oh
of
yeah.
taught on the job
Hard
while
knocks.
you're
The
doing it.
school of hard knocks.
Yeah, School of Hard Knocks. Thanks for watching this video. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you.